a Lamborghini and a Corolla. They all will take you from point A to point B. I mean, point A to point Z. Matter of fact, the Corolla might break down a little bit here and there, but still. Do you often compare your life to other people's lives, thinking that other people's life is better than yours? Do you often compare yourself to the millionaires or billionaires or people that are more successful? So we often compare ourselves to the famous rappers, singers, billionaires, Elon Musk, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Nicki Minaj. I love Nicki Minaj. But by comparing our lives to other people's lives, we're actually increasing our suffering by either twofold or threefold, because we're busy comparing our lives to other people's lives instead of focusing on our lives and focusing on our own peace. When we're too busy comparing our lives to other people's lives, we're actually not focusing on ourselves. For example, if we're too busy comparing our bank account to other people's bank account, what are we doing? We're actually creating that illusion in our head of obtaining something that is unobtainable. We all have our own life and we all have our own life story. Sometimes it takes some of us longer than the others in order to achieve to where they are. And by continuing to comparing our lives to their lives, we're actually not making ourselves happy at all. And we're just gonna make ourselves sadder and sadder every single day. When I was in high school, I constantly compared myself to my classmates. I grew up in a very low income neighborhood, suburban, and I don't understand how every time there's new Jordan that just came out or whatever, they will always have it. And I wanted it. Back then I wanted it, and I looked at them and I'm like, dang, I want to be like them. I want to have them Jordan. So, as little kids, you don't really understand the concept of suffering as much. The only thing that you want is you just want that thing, and then you force yourself to do whatever it takes to get that thing, to get that materialistic thing, right? So, you like, oh my God, I remember I was begging my parents to give me some money or allowance or whatever to save up and buy that Jordan. But it was so expensive. And now reflecting, and I'm like, dang, I was suffering from wanting to be like somebody else, where I could have just saved that money and buy, Payless or whatever and cheaper shoes. I mean, they're just shoes. They're not really, it's just a brand that slaps on it. It's all materialistic. And then it's crazy because that self-comparing continues throughout my whole life. For like 25 years, I never stopped constantly comparing myself to others. So going through high school was all in my head. I started comparing myself, comparing my education, comparing my grades to my friends' grade, making sure that I have to get A's so that I can compare myself to my friends, making sure that, you get that 3.0, that 4.0, whatever, so that we can get scholarships. And then when getting accepted to college, we have to compare where we're going to college. And it was so competitive. And that creates a whole triangle of suffering. Going back to when I wasn't happy with where I was at, I would beat myself up for it. I would tell myself that, I'm not worth it, I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't smart enough. And that just increases self-doubt within myself. Growing up, I was a heavyset kid, and I had to deal with this constant negativity from my friends, my family, and everybody else around me of telling me I was a fat kid. And that hurts. Those words hurt. So I started comparing myself to other people and the way I look. It was so hard for me to grow up because I constantly compared my looks to other people. I started losing weight in sophomore year in high school. I was like 200 pounds. And then I went down to like 150 pounds because I didn't eat. I just wanted to look like that slim kids that, walk around and, being all tough and stuff like that. But then deep down, I didn't know that creates a lot of suffering within myself. I was constantly starving myself. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't taking care of my mental health. I wasn't really focusing on myself, but focusing on what other people say. The number one worst thing that actually brings down our self-esteem is those negative, constant comparison coming from our parents. Coming from a Southeast Asian American household, a Vietnamese household. Our parents were always comparing us to those that are successful, even family members comparing to family members. There's times when our parents would be like, look at your cousin. They're pharmacists or the doctors or, they're engineers. Why can't you go into occupation just like them? And they don't understand that we all have our own journey. We all have our own lives, and we move at a different pace in life than how they were. So now whenever I catch myself comparing my life to other people's lives, I would pause and I would tell myself that, hey, everybody has their own life story and everybody move at a different pace. I can't constantly compare myself to other people's life, and that will create my own suffering in my life. So instead of comparing myself to other people's lives, what I can do is sit back, relax, and tell myself that, hey, you know what? Take it one day at a time. I see other people's success as a motivation for me, now seeing other people's success as my own happiness. And I don't compare myself anymore. I know where I'm at. I know my own worth. And the more I compare myself, the more I'm going to be hurt, and the more it's going to affect my mental health. Every day, I continue to give gratitude to myself and validating my own experience and where I'm at the moment. I would suggest all of us to start validating our own experience, and instead of comparing our lives to other people's lives, congratulate yourself, telling yourself that, hey, where you are at the moment is a success. You know, you made it to this point in life at this age already, and you made this much money, and you have this much friends, and you have this much support from your family, your friends, and everything. And that is a success in your life. We don't have to continue to compare ourselves to other people just because we want to be them. We got to start being us. Who we are as a person, it's already good enough, right? Our life is good enough. The car that we have is good enough. We ain't got to have a Tesla, a Lamborghini, and stuff like that. You know, a Lamborghini and a Corolla, they all will take you from point A to point B. Point A to point Z. Matter of fact, you know, the Corolla might break down a little bit here and there, but still, it'll take you from point A to B. And matter of fact, the Corolla will save you more gas rather than the Lamborghini. Right? So, validate your own experience, validate yourself, validate where you are at this moment in life, and celebrate that success. Tell yourself that you are worthy, and where you are at the moment in life is enough for you. And like I always said, in order for you to be the real version of yourself, all you gotta do is try.